If you thought flying was just about cloudy views and tiny packets of peanuts, think again. Sometimes the journey to your destination holds more adventure than the destination itself. Imagine being thousands of feet in the air in the confined space of an airplane, when suddenly you encounter the utterly unexpected, from UFOs making an unannounced visit to birds fluttering in the cabin. Yes, even in the controlled environment of a plane, the world finds ways to surprise us. Here are 17 instances where flight passengers captured what no one was supposed to see, proving that sometimes the sky is anything but the limit. Number 17. Flight attendants. It's hard to work in the field of customer service. There are a lot of people out there, and among them are some bad apples. While everyone is allowed to have their bad and off days, it's not really the case when you're taking care of customers and passengers. In this video, it seems that this flight attendant reached her limit as she ranted and screamed while on a flight. The entire incident was captured by a passenger. The flight attendant was recorded calling the crew to call 911 as she threatens to harm passengers before takeoff. When this video was uploaded to the internet, many viewers were shocked. Surely, you wouldn't expect someone to behave this way on your flight. Some passengers claim that the FA may have been mentally unstable at the time, which caused her to have this meltdown. But this was neither denied nor confirmed by the airlines. The airline industry is no stranger to stressful situations, but the safety and well-being of passengers and crew are always the top priority. Such incidents raise questions about the support systems in place for airline staff to manage stress and mental health. It also highlights the importance of proper training and resources to handle unexpected situations. The airline's response to this incident will be crucial in reassuring the public about their commitment to safety and customer service standards. Number 16. Emergency landing. In December 2021, a plane made a terrifying landing in Manchester, England. The weather was particularly rough that day with heavy rainfall and high winds. As you can see here in the video, the plane can't even land properly because of the strong wind. I can't imagine how hard it is to safely land a flight in strong, perilous crosswinds just like this. Thankfully, no major accident occurred. The skill and training of the pilot were put to the test as they maneuvered the aircraft under these challenging conditions. Passengers aboard the flight experienced moments of intense fear as the plane approached the runway, swaying and tilting under the force of the gale. The successful landing, despite the adverse weather conditions, was a testament to the pilot's expertise and the robust safety protocols in place. This incident highlights the unpredictable nature of air travel and the importance of preparedness for all weather scenarios. Number 15. UFO. There are many misconceptions surrounding the word UFO. It stands for unidentified flying object, which means it's a strange object flying in the sky with no scientific explanation to back up its existence. This means it doesn't always pertain to extraterrestrial creatures, but most of the time, UFOs are attributed to aliens. Just like this UFO captured on a plane that was flying over the Aegean Sea on its way to Athens. The weird object suddenly just appeared beside the plane and left the passengers questioning just what on earth they witnessed. This footage was taken way back in March 2018, and when the video was posted on Facebook, many immediately flocked over to the video and pondered as to what the strange flying object really is. Just like most of the passengers on the plane who saw the UFO, many couldn't offer a concrete explanation as to what the thing was. However, some people also argue that this footage only shows a normal occurrence. The gray UFO isn't really a UFO. Rather, those are just plain contrails, at least that's what some people say. Whether this really is a bizarre sighting of an extraterrestrial aircraft or just another plane's contrail, we'll leave it up to your own judgment. Number 14. Engine explosion. Imagine if you're in the middle of your flight and it's your first time on a plane. You got lucky and had the window seat for yourself. But just as you're trying to take an Instagram-worthy picture on your phone, instead of clouds, you see the engine right next to you in full blaze. Any sane person would certainly freak out. That exact incident didn't happen, but an engine explosion did occur. It happened in the Boeing 777 that was operated by United Airlines way back in February last year. As you can see in the video, the engine just spontaneously exploded, and huge chunks of debris came crashing down to the neighborhood below. Thankfully, the plane made it safely back to the airport in Denver. No one was harmed or injured in the incident. According to the investigators, it was possible that one of the fan blades broke off, then chopped the other, which resulted in the fatal failure on the plane's engine. Needless to say, instead of some aesthetic footage, the passengers of the plane captured some nightmare material, especially to those people who already fear riding airplanes. Number 13. Mysterious passengers. Some people believe that there are some spirits that fail to realize they're already dead. This video was captured by one pilot at the Phuket International Airport. There's already a local legend claiming that the airport is haunted, and this might be one among the many testimonials. The airport was completely deserted late at night, but you can still see some passengers with their luggage walking up the jet bridge. They disappear right at the end of the bridge as if they're entering an invisible plane. These ghost-like figures spooked the pilot that witnessed the entire thing. With no planes in sight and with the passengers immediately disappearing, the pilot concluded that these people might be ghosts, which were perhaps the victims of a plane accident. When this eerie video was uploaded to the internet, a lot of people offered alternative theories to explain what's happening. One of them claimed that instead of ghosts, the passengers may actually be real people walking along the terminal that are just being reflected on the glass, creating the spooky illusion. What do you think of this video? Do you think this could be one example of when the deceased can't accept their deaths? Number 12. Brace for impact. There are many reasons why a decent amount of people fear boarding planes. While they're relatively safe, there's still that nagging fear of being helpless should anything bad happen while you're 10,000 feet up in the air. That fear can easily disappear once you get used to flying, but it'll surely and immediately increase tenfold if you ever hear your pilot saying the words, "Brace for impact." This video went viral way back in January 2018. It's footage of a couple of passengers listening to the plane's pilot and instruct them to brace for impact. The heart-stopping incident happened on an American Airlines flight that was supposed to travel from Phoenix to Dallas. A passenger recorded the tense moment when they needed to do an emergency landing when the plane experienced some mechanical issues. Luckily, no one was harmed from the incident, and the plane made an emergency landing. In the end, all the passengers still arrived at their destination, Fort Worth International Airport in Dallas. It's still a pretty terrifying experience, and surely no one on that plane will ever forget that flight, especially since most of them probably thought it would be their last. The calm professionalism of the flight crew during the ordeal was widely praised, as their actions undoubtedly contributed to the positive outcome. After the incident, the airline conducted a thorough investigation to prevent future occurrences of similar mechanical issues. Passengers shared their stories on social media, creating a wave of support and admiration for the pilot and crew. This incident serves as a reminder of the unpredictable nature of flying and the importance of emergency preparedness and training for airline staff. Number 11. Air China possession. We've all seen our fair share of rude people in public. At this point, it's normal to stumble upon a video of a rude customer in a supermarket while scrolling through your feed. But this confrontation right here is a bit different. In 2017, one passenger on an Air China flight claimed that she was possessed by evil spirits. I don't know about you, but while it sounds far-fetched, it's unnerving to hear a fellow passenger claim something so absurd. The woman forced the pilot to turn around for an emergency landing just 20 minutes after the plane's takeoff. The woman was already in her 50s, and at first, she passed out shortly after the plane took off from Beijing. The flight crew immediately arranged for her to receive medical treatment, although when she came to, she refused to be touched and she even attacked one security guard. She kept shouting that there are things possessing her body while causing a huge scene on the plane. The whole incident caused a 5-hour delay to the flight as the passenger refused to cooperate with anyone on the plane. She adamantly claimed until the end that she's being possessed by something that cannot be seen. Through health checks, we don't really know what happened to her after the flight, but hopefully, she got the help that she needed. Number 10. Snakes on a plane. If you're a fan of movies, then you probably know about the movie Snakes on a Plane. It was a pretty old movie that was released way back in 2006. The story is pretty much on the title. In the movie, dozens of snakes were trapped in a plane, and people had to deal with them mid-flight, amongst other problems. In real life, the plot is quite far-fetched, considering how strict some airport securities are, but a decade after the movie, an actual snake was spotted on a plane mid-flight. Passengers were surprised to see a green serpentine slithering out of an overhead bin. Of course, they quickly unbuckled their seatbelts and got out of their seats to be as far away from the snake as possible. That's probably what most people would do, considering there are pretty venomous snakes out there that can kill you in one bite. Thankfully, the snake this time was, in fact, non-venomous, and so it was immediately taken care of by the capable and brave flight attendants using a blanket. Later on, it was passed over to snake experts who boarded the plane. I sure hope that those flight attendants were being paid enough to deal with snakes, but surely, this isn't the first time they encountered something strange in the middle of a flight. Number 9. Turbulence. It's normal to feel turbulence while you're on the plane, and it's completely safe with how planes are today. But that doesn't mean it isn't scary. Turbulence shows you that there's a reason why you should keep your seatbelt fastened on airplanes. Just take a look at this particularly terrifying turbulence that occurred on an ALK Airlines flight from Kosovo to Switzerland in 2019. A passenger managed to capture a video of the entire thing. Everyone was just sitting in their seats when suddenly severe turbulence shook the entire plane, sending the overhead compartments to open and spill out luggage. One unfortunate flight attendant was in the aisle at the time, and she was sent flying into the ceiling by the shaking, while the drink cart's contents spilled on the nearest passengers. This severe turbulence happened about 30 minutes into the flight. Medical practitioners were quick to respond at Euro Airport in Switzerland, and they immediately treated everyone harmed in the flight. According to the reports, about 10 passengers needed to be taken to the local hospital for minor injuries, while a few others sustained major injuries among the passengers on the flight. Number 8. Pray for safety. When the pilot and captain of the plane start telling you to start praying for your safety, you'd best believe that the situation is extremely dire. During tough situations, it's important for people to stay calm, but it isn't always a good sign when your pilot calmly asks you to pray. The 359 passengers of an AirAsia X aircraft at Kuala Lumpur International Airport experienced one of the most unforgettable flights of their lives in 2017. The flight from Australia was destined to land in Malaysia, but amidst the flight, the entire plane reportedly violently shook like a washing machine for 2 hours. According to the horrified passengers, it was a bumpy ride indeed. The passengers claimed that the plane was shaky right after it took off in Perth. They even heard a huge bang about an hour into the flight. Most people probably believed that it was the last flight of their lives. The seats and passengers were shaking rapidly in the video, and you can hear loud rattling through the entire plane. The exact cause of this midair mishap is still unknown, although there's a huge possibility that the problem stemmed from the plane's engine. The pilot even asked the passenger sitting on the left side of the plane to keep an eye on the left engine, as he suspected that it was jammed, frozen, or completely broken. The passengers really experienced the full shake, rattle, and roll the entire 2 hours of the flight. Number 7. Hudson plane crash. Perhaps one of the most well-known flights is the U.S. Airways Flight 1549, also known as the Miracle on the Hudson. On January 15, 2009, the plane departed from LaGuardia Airport in New York City around 3:25 in the afternoon. They were originally headed toward Charlotte, North Carolina, but about 2 minutes into the flight, the plane encountered a flock of Canada geese, and the birds caused damage to both of the plane's engines. The damage was so severe that the plane almost lost thrust. The lives of the 150 passengers and 5 crew on board entirely depended on the flight's pilot, Captain Chesley Sullenberger III. Sullenberger immediately notified LaGuardia's air control about the dire situation and advised that they would be returning back to the airport. This feat proved to be impossible as the plane continued to descend. The pilot had no other choice but to take the risk of landing the plane in the Hudson River. There's nothing more terrifying than hearing the captain telling you to brace for impact while you're on a flight. A few minutes after the plane's engines had been damaged, Captain Sullenberger successfully landed the plane in the river. A majority of the plane was severely damaged during the crash. The passengers and crew were immediately evacuated out of the plane through the use of forward slides and rafts. Emergency workers also quickly responded to the scene and assisted many of the injured passengers. Aside from the plane's successful emergency landing, only 5 people suffered major injuries. After safely landing the plane, Sullenberger was praised by many people, and he was recognized as a national hero by millions who heard the news. However, some doubted his decision in landing the plane in the Hudson River. Thankfully, after a long investigation by the National Transportation Safety Board, Sullenberger's action was recognized to be appropriate. The plane was removed from the river after a few days, and it was displayed at the Carolinas Aviation Museum in Charlotte. Number 6. Pilot Meltdown. Perhaps you've seen a couple of videos on the internet featuring funny and witty pilots talking to their passengers on the intercom. Those are the type of pilots you hope to get during your flight. Hearing the captain in a happy disposition would certainly make anyone feel more at ease during the entire flight. But in 2017, the passengers of a United Airlines flight were all horrified when the captain started talking on their intercom. The captain started off a bizarre rant featuring politics and her very own divorce. Apparently, her colleagues already noticed her bizarre demeanor before the flight. The captain allegedly came to work in normal clothes and asked her coworkers to pick if she should pilot the plane in plain clothes or if she should dress appropriately. Many of the passengers even recounted that because of her attire, they thought that she was just a first-class passenger complaining until she grabbed the intercom. Many of the flight passengers were quite offended by her little rant and decided that they would leave the plane, although apparently she didn't push through with the Austin to San Francisco flight. Instead, she was exchanged with another pilot. As the news reached social media, many expressed their concerns regarding the incident, saying that the pilot shouldn't have come if she wasn't in a mentally safe space. The pilot was thoroughly investigated after the incident, and personally, I don't think she was treated lightly after her stunt. Now it's time for today's subscriber pick. 30,000 feet in the air. A curious passenger named Alex pressed his face against the cool airplane window, hoping to capture the cotton candy clouds sprawling beneath them. His camera was a witness to the vast blue expanse, a silent companion on a routine flight that was about to become anything but ordinary. Without warning, his camera's lens caught a glimpse of an anomaly amidst the deep azure of the ocean far below. A dark, isolated islet that appeared and vanished in a fleeting moment. It was a place that wasn't on any map, an enigma in the midst of the great blue. Alex zoomed in, his hands steady despite the altitude and his pounding heart. The islet bore an uncanny resemblance to ancient tales of lost worlds, a fragment of land lost to time and memory. It seemed to pulse with a life of its own, an oasis of shadows in the sun-drenched sea. The photo would stir a storm in the world of cartography and archaeology. Experts scrambled for explanations, historians combed through archives, and conspiracy theorists heralded it as evidence of the elusive, sunken lands spoken of in legend. Alex's discovery, captured between the heavens and earth, became a siren's call for the curious and the brave. It was a puzzle piece from Earth's hidden history, glimpsed from the skies, a reminder that the world still keeps secrets to be found by those who look closely enough. Number 5. AirAsia X. Turbulence is more common than you might think. It occasionally happens in most flights, and it's usually caused by irregular or violent air. However, most of the time, it isn't something to worry about. But in June 2017, the passengers of an AirAsia X plane flying from Perth to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia, experienced a near-death experience in the middle of the flight. The plane suddenly shook like a washing machine for 2 agonizing hours, and it's never really a good sign when your pilot suddenly gets religious in the middle of the flight. Needless to say, the passengers were alarmed and terrified when their pilot suddenly told them to pray. Some passengers managed to take a video of the scene unfolding inside the plane. You can see the entire plane shaking, and you can also hear some rattling noises. According to the passengers, they also heard a loud bang a few minutes into the flight. The exact cause of the accident is still unclear. However, the airlines testified that the pilot had 44 years of experience, and the problem may have stemmed from a faulty engine. According to passengers, the pilot asked them to keep an eye on the left engine, as he suspected it may have been jammed, frozen, or have completely broken. However, after the bone-chilling journey, the pilot still managed to land the plane safely, and according to him, he suspected that they landed with only one engine functioning. Of course, you can only imagine the sigh of relief all the passengers felt when they landed. After all, when your pilot tells you to pray, the first thing you'll think of is that the flight you're on may very well be your last. Number 4. Duct tape. No one wants to deal with a rowdy passenger, but sometimes it can't be helped. The solution? Duct tape. I'm not even joking. In one flight in 2021, a man was literally duct taped to his seat after he allegedly assaulted one of the flight attendants. When he resisted against the crew, he was forcefully duct taped to his seat. The flight was catered by Frontier Airlines. It seems that the passenger had 1 or 2 drinks while he was on the plane. Of course, the man resisted being strapped to his seat. He repeatedly shouted at the other passengers, disturbing everyone on the plane. Because of the disruption he caused, the man was fined about $1,500. The incident quickly went viral on social media, sparking a wide range of reactions from amusement to serious debates about passenger conduct and airline safety protocols. In response to the incident, Frontier Airlines stated that the safety and security of their passengers and crew are their top priority, and they have strict policies in place to handle such situations. The event led to discussions in the aviation industry about the need for more effective strategies to manage unruly passengers. This unique approach to handling a difficult passenger situation highlighted the challenges flight crews face and the importance of maintaining order and safety on board. Number 3. Extra pair of wings. Birds can travel by flying, but did you know that they can do it in 2 ways? They can travel by using their wings, and sometimes they can travel by boarding a plane too. Yes, you heard it right. Birds can actually ride a plane, and they can have their very own passports. You may already have seen or heard of this, especially if you've traveled to the Middle East from the Gulf routes before, or if you're often on social media. Then, you might have seen this photo where dozens of falcons are on the flight with their owners. This photo right here shows birds that are on their way to Jeddah in Saudi Arabia. Unlike other countries, you won't have much of a problem boarding your Falcon in Qatar Airways, Emirates, Etihad, and Jordanian Airlines, as long as your Falcon has their own passport and their own seats. But honestly, I'd be pretty surprised if I ever boarded my flight and discovered that I actually share it with a couple of falcons. The tradition of falconry is deeply rooted in the culture of the Middle East, which explains the exceptional treatment of these birds during air travel. In addition to their passports, falcons must also meet specific health and safety regulations before they can fly, ensuring a smooth journey for all. This unique aspect of air travel showcases the diverse ways in which different cultures incorporate their traditions into modern life. Witnessing such a sight would not only be surprising but also a fascinating insight into the rich heritage of falconry in the Arab world. Number 2. Marty Martinez. Marty Martinez was a passenger of a Southwest Airlines flight in 2018. At the time, he bravely filmed and live-streamed what he believed to be his final moments on Earth. This happened about 30 minutes into the flight as the pilot told them to brace for landing. Martinez tried to keep recording and live-streaming because he thought it was his last chance to communicate with his loved ones. Everyone on the flight already had their oxygen masks ready, nervous and apprehensive about their fate. The pilot successfully landed the plane at Philadelphia International Airport, even with parts of the engine missing. Unfortunately, not all of the passengers got out of the flight unscathed. Just a few rows behind Martinez, a window busted open, which nearly sucked a mother of 2 out of the plane. Other passengers were also injured because of the shrapnel after the explosion. Overall, 1 fatality was recorded due to the incident. The aviation community praised the pilot's skillful emergency landing, which prevented further loss of life and demonstrated exceptional airmanship under pressure. In the aftermath, the airline and aviation authorities reviewed safety procedures and engine design to prevent similar incidents in the future. The event sparked a widespread discussion about airline safety and the importance of passenger preparedness for emergencies. Martinez's live stream became a stark reminder of the unpredictability of air travel and the resilience of those faced with life-threatening situations. Number 1. Lost plane. 8 years ago, in March 2014, Flight MH370 departed Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. The plane was originally destined to land in Beijing, but it never reached its destination. Even today, the whereabouts of the plane and the 239 souls on board is still unknown. The plane made its final transmission around 1 a.m. on March 8, 2014, and about 19 minutes later, the pilot communicated with air traffic control once again, claiming that everything is good. At this point, the plane was already passing by the Vietnamese air traffic control. Around 1:31 a.m., civilian radars detected the plane heading northeast across the mouth of the Gulf of Thailand, and at 2:15 a.m., military defense radar picked up an unidentified blip about 200 miles northwest of Penang, Malaysia. Later on, this was confirmed to be sent out by Flight MH370. Around 6:30 a.m., the flight that was supposed to touch down in Beijing didn't arrive as scheduled. Malaysian air traffic completely lost contact with everyone on the flight. That afternoon, authorities set out to locate the plane. There are several possible locations where the flight might have landed. Everyone searched in Malaysia and Vietnam, but it was fruitless. That evening, Chinese President Xi Jinping called for emergency measures to find the plane. At this point, the authorities and the families of everyone on board were desperate. From March 8th to March 16th, about 26 countries extended their help to locate the missing plane. The authorities also started to run a background check on everyone on board to see if there was any foul play involved, but the reports came back clean, and there was no information of significance among the passengers' data. On March 19th, ex-President Barack Obama extended the help of the United States and even commanded the FBI to make the search for Flight MH370 their top priority. There was some debris found along the probable crash site of the flight, but all the results came back negative. Flight MH370 seemed to have vanished forever. Over the years, scientists, journalists, and authorities from all over the world tried their best to locate the missing plane. Today, the disappearance of this Malaysian flight is known as one of the biggest unsolved mysteries in aviation history. Some people claim that the flight may have been sucked by a hole that transmigrated them to another dimension, while some people claim that the plane simply sank deep into the ocean.